Alrighty, review of last time. So last pasuk, so we did 18:10 last time, right? Migdal Oz Shem Hashem, Bo Yarut Tzadik V'Niskav. So a tower of strength is the name of Hashem, and I think we settled on in it or with it. The tzaddik runs and is strengthened. Yeah. Yeah, that was a hard one. Yeah. You want to take a stab at what you remember, or you want me to lead? Because I also I got different approaches swirling around. I don't even remember if we ended up on a specific reading or if we just did a bunch and then kind of like synthesized.
Right. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Yeah. Okay. So let me actually read what I have in my summary, and then we can reconstruct what we did based on it. Because the summary I wrote when I prepared it over the summer, not necessarily what we did on Thursday. So I wrote. So I defined the subject as the title is the Mishlei Tzaddik's security. Okay. So Mishlei Tzaddik is one who makes decisions based on the good of the system of which he is a part. The tzaddik's knowledge of the system is referred to as the name of Hashem. That's different than what we had, or not entirely different, but just yeah, it's clear than what we had, because we said that the only way to know Hashem is through knowledge of either nature or Torah, and this seems to be talking about nature, but we didn't put it in terms of his knowledge of the system. So interesting. Okay, the average person takes. Oh, okay. This is. I think I learned it better last time. The average person takes security in particulars. He will therefore experience anxiety about the future, hoping in the face of uncertainty that things work out in his favor. In contrast, the tzaddik takes security in his knowledge of the system, which is knowable, reliable, and more real than the particulars. This recognition and orientation to his circumstances will instill a psychological strength in him which allows him to run, that is, to move forward swiftly and with confidence that he will not stumble despite his uncertainty about particular outcomes, and will enable him to be elevated in the sense that he will be safe from harm and will enjoy success. Cool. That's much clearer than we had it, I think. Yeah, right. Because so the example, just to go back to the example last time, was the expert poker player versus the novice. The novice is daunted and discouraged by when he loses a particular hand. So his anxiety and his security is caught up in the particulars. But the tzaddik poker player has knowledge of the system and knows that as long as he sticks to the system, then there's nothing to be afraid of, and it'll give him confidence to move forward and keep sticking to the math, even though he knows. Even though the particulars didn't work out, because he knows that the math is more real than the results.
What do we mean it's more real?
What I mean by that is that the particulars are determined by the underlying laws.
Okay.
So I mean, you could think of it in terms of simple cause and effect. That the cause is more real than the effect, in the sense that it is the effect is entirely dependent on the cause. But I don't like putting it in terms of cause and effect. I like putting it in terms of like the maybe I do. I don't know. It is what determines the results. The chachma behind the thing is what determines the physical manifestations. Okay. Yeah. So let's see if that makes sense then. So Shem Hashem Migdal Oz Bo Yarut Tzadik V'Niskav. Right. So I think we were getting that from one of the Mefarshim, I think it was the Ralbag. Ralbag said that ordinarily you run and you get worn out, but tzaddik can run with this and get strengthened. So that's where we're getting the strengthened thing. And then there was another one of the Mefarshim, the Metzudat David, I think, who said that like in a tower you're usually confined, but you're protected but confined. But the tzaddik's protection gives him mobility, allows him to move around.
Are those two different ideas?
It's a good question, because the way that I explained it just now, it seems to be, both of them seem to be features of the mashal.
Right. Okay.
And that's why I think I mentioned that the modern term, I think, would be force field. It's a force field for him because it's something that protects you but allows you to have mobility.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what about not getting worn out?
The not getting worn out. So I took that as the psychological wearing out, which I think is different than what the Ralbag said, referring to the fact that getting discouraged by failures or by stumbling blocks. I think it's difficult for me to see. It's difficult for me to see what other type of strength it could be. I mean, unless you're going to take the hashgacha pratis approach, but I don't think we were so keen on that. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So today's pasuk is debatably connected. Okay. So it either is directly connected or it's connected by association. So we have here. I'm gonna go ahead. No one's on Zoom, but I'm gonna share my screen so I can do our usual typing out the translations routine. Okay. Hold on just a second here. Share screen. Okay. So you got it there.
Yes.
Hon Ashir Kiryas Uzo, Ukachoma Nisgava B'Maskito. Sometimes you see psukim that it sounds like he's trying to rhyme, and I mean, it would make sense that like he's trying to rhyme in a proverb because he wants to make it memorable. But yeah, whatever. All right, Hon Ashir Kiryas Uzo, Ukachoma Nisgava B'Maskito. Okay, so there's a couple of difficult terms here, but you want to take a stab at translating?
Sure. Hon, what's that? I don't know. Greatness?
Hon is wealth.
Wealth.
Yeah.
Okay. Wealth and Ashir also wealth, I guess.
Ashir is the wealthy
Oh, the
person. Yeah.
Okay. So the wealth of the wealthy person.
Yeah.
Is a city, like a city of strength.
Yeah, city of strength.
And like the walls, like are great.
So I think Niskava here is the same word as Niskav in the last one. So it's it's going to either be like a high wall or a strong wall.
Okay.
I guess depending on how you say it. So I think here a tall wall makes the most sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tall walls in his dwelling.
Oh, in his dwelling place. Okay, where are you getting that from?
Just Moscow or whatever that shiur just means. Does it mean dwelling like Shechina?
Well, this is with a sin.
Oh. Yikes.
I mean, you happen to be right, but for the wrong reason. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's.
Wait, no, like Mishkan. Is it Mishkan?
The Shachin.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it might be related. I mean, look. According to the two-letter shiur system, it's definitely related because same thing probably related to Sukkah, which is not. I know that's with a samech also, but like all these samech, sin, shin, chaf words have like a sheltering type quality to or implication to them. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's look at the minimalist mafarshim here. So Matsudat ציון we'll start off with like usual. Hold on, let me just get this on the screen.
Wait, what do you mean the too short? Is that like
it's a machlokus in like Bali Diktuk whether shirashim are 3 letters or 2 letters. Someone said also that 4 letters, but I don't know what that would be. Cool. Yeah, and I guess there are advantages and disadvantages to each system, and then there were like grammar wars fought in the like vicious not like with spears, but like vicious attacks by the Bali Diktuk on each other to establish. And I don't know this. I don't know this firsthand, of course. What I mean is like I haven't researched this. I've been told this by Diktuk people that like that the reason why we think that there are 3-letter shirashim is because those won out in those polemic wars. But you'll find Diktuk people talking about the 2-letter theory. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, this is the like who are they? Like I think. Okay, don't quote me on this. Like Ibn Janach and Donash Ibn Labrat, and like those Rishonim that like wrote on grammar that that we humble non-dictative people only know through like people like Ibn Ezra quoting them. But yeah. Okay, so Matsudat. Let's do Matsudat ציון first. 1811. Hon Ashir Kiryas Uzo, the wealth. I said Hon is wealth. It has like the connotation of like a massive amount of wealth. So like treasure might be a better translation of an Ashir, of a wealthy person. Kiryas Uzo. I actually forgot to point out subtlety here. You translated as a city of strength.
Yeah.
So his city of his strength, or his city of strength. I'm not sure what the Uzo qualifies. Ukachoma nisgava b'maskito, and like we're translating a tall wall in his maskis. Okay, and so the maskis we're gonna have to look at different translations for. So Matsudat ציון says Kiryas is miloshen karir, or sorry, Kirya ve'ir. So it's a city. I think the implication is like a fortified city or a strong city. And then maskito, inyano haratzuf b'ritzpas avanim, that which is tiled, I guess would be the best translation, with like a tiling of stones. Humi lashon sachach v'kisui. It's from the lashon of covering and concealing, or covering, the Evan Maskis. Like in Evan Maskis is like in the pasuk that you shouldn't bow. What is it? You shouldn't bow down on Evan Maskis. Is that how it's formulated? Or is it you shouldn't make? I can't remember.
Hewn stone.
Yeah. But I think he's learning it as like tiled. Like also look at Rashi if you have Rashi there. I think he reads it the same way. Ukachoma nisgava ashro lo b'chadre maskito mipnei shabayis nirtzaf b'ritzpas avanim hasochachim al haaretz kori evan maskis. So he says that the a house which is, I think tiled is the best translation here. Maybe there's a better one. Tiled with tiling of stones that are sochachim al haaretz, that cover the earth. That's called evan maskis. And we got to remember also that, like, you know, the old school floors were just dirt. So this is like a certain level of luxury to have a floor in your house that's made out of stuff, and especially like stones. Okay, so that's the Metzudas ציון. So let's so he translated the last half as and like. So now how do you put it together? Ukachomnis gava bimaskito, and like a tall wall in his floored dwelling. I don't know, in his.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not exactly sure how to. I don't know if he's referring davka to the floor, or if he's borrowing the term floor and saying, floor. Like when he says inyano haratzuf b'ritzpas avanim, sounds like he's talking about the house, right? That the house is is floored with this. Yeah. Sadigon, which you don't have, I just looked him up beforehand. He just says, he adds the word kumo in the beginning. Kumo hon ha'ashir kiras uzo ukochoma niskava mimaskito. So I didn't know what that meant at first, but then the footnote in the kafa said that he's trying to connect it to the previous pasuk. And by the way, we'll just articulate this, even though I think it's obvious. What would be the relationship? Like, why are they assuming that this is related to the previous pasuk?
Oh, we were just talking about Migdal Oz.
Right. Migdal Oz, Kiryas Oz sound very similar, and then also like Tzadik is Niskav, and then this is Nisgava. You know, like, so it's mashma that they are related. But I guess the question is, like, is it just related that the themes are the same, or is it like one big idea? So Sadigon seems to be taking the extreme of, like, you're treating it like one idea, because it's saying just like the Migdal Oz is just like the Shem Hashem is Migdal Oz to the Tzadik, so too the Hon Ashir is Kiras Uzo, you know, something like that. So I don't know what that is, but yeah. I just
why he's doing that is, it's kind of strange that, like, we're talking about wealth as like being.
Yes, yeah, that's gonna be the main question here, I think. Yeah, very good. We'll get to that in 1 second, and then Targum. I tried looking up. Okay, so look at the way he says it. First of all, mazale da'atira kiryas de'ushne. So I perked up when he says mazale, right? Because why would you translate mazale? Right, yeah. So I was thinking, like, oh, that's interesting. And then I looked up, I guess that's his standard translation for hon, okay? And I was thinking, well, that's weird. And then I realized that there's a word in English. What word in English means both luck and a lot of money? Fortune. Right. So it's no different than that, you know. Why that is a good question. Like, is that stem from, like, just the way that people view it, that, you know, that it was dictated by your literal, like, astrology, or is it just a recognition that your wealth is dependent on external factors? I don't know, but in other words, the point is I wouldn't read too much more into it than you would read into fortune in English. Okay. You know, so mazle da'atira kiryasa de'ushne. So that's just a literal translation. The fortune of the wealthy person is the fortress of his strength. Ukshura Yurum, and like a high wall, and I think Yurum here is a pirush of, here Nisgav does not mean strong, because Yurum is like Ram, you know. And at Mishlei, I tried looking up and I couldn't. I think it means floor, is his floor, but I wasn't 100% sure about that. So I don't think we're getting that much more from the Ksuvim, or the Targum Ksuvim. So I'm just gonna kind of disregard it for now. If we see that it was that he's giving some sort of insight later, then fine. And then I'm just going to read the art scroll living nach an altar, and then we'll start working on the pasuk. So art scroll, and there's not that many differences here. Also, art scroll says the treasure of a wealthy person is his city of strength, and like a high wall in his chambers. So he translates maskis as chambers. Okay, and I think that is from a different translation of maskis as like the pasuk that I always quote about Mishlei, that tapuche zahav b'maskios kesef, like gold apples in silver casings, or let's say, for example, in the bracha of Onosin l'sechvi vina l'havchin ben yom v'layla. So sechvi, whole question of what sechvi means there, but certainly it does mean rooster, and there's a whole question about why sechvi means rooster. And so one of the theories is it's related to this word like maskios, which is that a rooster. I don't know if this is. I mean, this is what I saw in one of the farshim. A rooster like has it's like plumage, like it's like that, you know. I don't know, but like referring to like some sort of like casings or whatever. So I guess that's how it's saying chambers, unless it's somehow getting chambers from the fact that I don't know if like maskis is specifically a chamber that is tiled on the floor, and he's going based on that. Not sure. I don't know if it's important. And then Living Nach says a rich man's wealth is his stronghold. Okay, stronghold is a good combo translation of Kiryas Uzo. And it is like a reinforced wall in his abode. Okay, so they're learning maskis as abode. That's why when you said dwelling, I was like, oh, yeah. And then altar says the rich man's wealth is his fortress city, like a high wall within its hedge. And I was looking at like hedge. No one else says hedge. And then I looked at his translation, and I guess this is something that he does. I didn't know this. He says this translation follows the Septuagint and 3 other ancient versions in reading b'mesukato for the Masoretic b'maskito. So I guess he learns it as a different word. So we can kind of ignore that for now, because I think we trust the Masoretes. Yeah. Okay, so what are the questions here? And I think you already said the main one.
So weird. Yeah, I guess. Right, why is it wealth? Like, why is wealth looked at as a positive thing?
Yeah, what, I guess, can we be more specific, more precise in the question? Or more neutral, and then acknowledge, like, what is the neutral part of the question, and what is the,
right, I guess.
What is the benefit of wealth that it's talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main question, just to put, because this is a mashal, right? So, in what sense is wealth a fortress? Yeah.
It's not even a mashal, no. Like if you just read it, you could read it as literally, like wealth is somehow protects you in some way.
But it's using it as a mashal, though.
There's still,
well, you don't take your coins and make a fortress, you know? Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And then the subjective, not subjective, no, I want, there's a better word for it. It's not biased. I guess the part of the question that comes from a preconceived notion is yeah, is it seems like the pasuk is giving like unwarranted value, or ascribing unwarranted value to wealth, or something like that. Yeah, right.
It's very weird. As you type, I'm like, my brain is like expecting to see the word.
Yeah. That's why I really do think
I'm not having that.
You're not having that, yeah.
That was, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I mentioned this to Zev last night. I didn't ask you, I just mentioned it to you. Do you think it would be like, just in terms of not having experienced like Zoom, all of my classes over Zoom, do you think it would be to the advantage to have like a screen up here, just in terms of the ways that I use, like just typing stuff and displaying text?
I think it would, because I think this way it can provide the same experience.
Yeah.
Whether you're over Zoom or not.
I get, yeah.
Just having to pick between in-person interactions and.
Yeah. I think that's an unfair decision. And I get both, because I get to see my screen, and because I mean, I am very visual and textual, and I find it helpful to have stuff on the screen, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I definitely, I'm not like so much that way, but I do find it helpful to be able to like glance at it every once in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I mean, even just let's say like when we have different translations up there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like just to keep track of who said what, it's just you're offloading more from your memory, your working memory storage onto tangible form. Okay, so so I guess yeah. In what sense is it a curious uzo? And then we have to also ask about the second muscle also, right? In what sense? In what sense is it kechoma nisgava b'maskito?
Right.
Whatever. However we translate that.
Yeah.
Here's one also where the question about what's the practical application is very important. So like, kamash malan, you should make wealth.
Right.
You know? And then who is the audience? Yeah. So this is so just pointing out stylistically here. When I always say that the Mishlei from Perek Chaf Hey and onward is a different style, this is the style of the most of the pasukim from 25 and on. It's just a straight mashal, and so we haven't really encountered this so much in our what do you call it, our learning yet. I mean, even the previous one, even though that was a mashal, the ubo yarut tzadik v'niskav, that ambiguity of not knowing what's part of the mashal and what's not. Like that already complicates things. This is just straight up honash yakira zo ukachomaniskava b'maskito. Like it's much, it's all muscle, right?
So I actually have no idea what questions we have so far.
So far I have in what sense is wealth a kiryas uzo? I should say is a kiryas uzo for the sorry, in what sense in what sense is the hon ashir, is the hon ashir a kiryas uzo? And the reason why I'm asking that is because
is it a fortress for him or for like?
Yeah, is it says for him, and also uzo, something about the possessive in that is his fortress of strength. To me is different. Like it did not say that for the Shem Hashem, right? It doesn't say migdal uzo. You know, so I don't know if that's significant or not, but it, jumps out. And so that's one question. In what sense is the hon ashir a kiryas uzo? In what sense is it kechoma nisgava b'maskito? And then the underlying question of this is: it seems like the pasuk is ascribing unwarranted benefit to wealth. We can mess with the translation, the formulation of that question if need be. What's the practical application, and who's the audience? And I'm gonna just explicitly ask the question here: is there a relationship between this pasuk and the previous one? Because it seems like there is, and Sadigon explicitly says that there is, and a lot of the Mepharshim will associate it. Yeah.
I guess like just simply like if a guy has money, then he has a certain level of security.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry about like I don't know, food on the table and things like that. Even like dangers, like if it's the muscle of the stronghold, like he doesn't really have to worry about like people trying to attack him.
Right. So I guess that's what bothers me about. That's what's driving me to be bothered from the question that you asked, which is that, yeah, on the one hand, he has certain uses of wealth that afford him protection, but like we know that it's not absolute because like look at any natural disaster, you look at any revolution, any riot. Like these things do not protect the wealthy from everything that they think they could be protected from. House could burn down. Stock market could crash. So it would be in other words, it'd be weird to me. First of all, it'd be weird to me to say. It sounds like the point itself that wealth can afford you advantages. If you just leave it at that, that sounds to be not a chiddush.
Right.
Now you can, and I'm not saying that is reason to abandon the idea. Like maybe you can bring out a chiddush from it, but then also the more major problem is it seems to be misleading. It doesn't seem to be true. Like wealth is not something that is going to save you from these things ultimately.
Yes, with the practical application.
That's one of the questions. Yeah. Yeah, like that you should get wealth.
Money.
Yeah.
Well, maybe picking up on the curiosity though,
Mhm.
like maybe he's like maybe it benefits him to the detriment of others. Like specifically, it's security to him as opposed to anyone else.
Well, that would fit in with the explanation you were saying, because it's not, his wealth is not necessarily going to help others in that way of like shielding him from stuff.
Right, but I guess what's the finish also?
Right. Another thing also is I don't know if the Choma Nisgava is a feature of the Kiryas Uzo or if these are two different mashalim.
Because it seems like, right, there's one idea of security of some sort.
Yeah.
There's another idea of like, luxury.
Right. Yeah. The luxury, and also just in terms of the scale of the two, like, first of all, if we take Kirya as a city, like the Matsudas Tion, so the city does not have tiled floors, so like the way I'm picturing it here is you've got a Kiryas Uzo, which is the description of the city as a whole, and then the Choma Nisgava B'Maskito is like his dwelling. I don't know if it's his dwelling within the city or just his dwelling per se, but like they're not synonymous, because yeah, I guess that's my main point. Is if we take Mosquito as the Matsudas Tion, so then it's not, these are two different mashalim, I think.
Right. I guess it's interesting also that in his dwelling, I mean, even though they're not synonymous, his dwelling also has high walls.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So it does provide some
right.
protection.
Yeah. So you want to see an approach from the Mepharshim, or you want to think about it some more?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a fundamental. I don't know about fundamental, but it's a Mishlei methodology point. Okay, so look at the Ralbag. Let me find it here. Yeah, got it.
Yes.
Okay. Hine, so hon ashir, hine hahon lo hula ashir kamo kiryas uos. The wealth is to the wealthy person like a strong fortress. Ki yiftach shiye lo laoz, because he trusts, he has security in it that it will be for strength. Lefi machashav to, according to his thoughts. Lefi ra'oso, and according to his perception. Hine hahon hu lo kechoma nisgava. The wealth to him is like a tall wall. Ki bahono yirtze habayim lahazik lo. Because with his wealth, or because I think because of his wealth, yirtze habayim lahazik lo. I don't know what yirtze habayim lahazik lo. I would assume he means that those who come want to harm him. Could be. Maybe he'll appease. Yeah, yirtze habayim lahazik lo. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Oh, so in other words, that's how it's a tall wall, because he's going to use his wealth to try to like buy off the people who are coming to harm him. So the difference between this strength and the strength in the previous pasuk is obvious. Kia oz hakodem hu oz b'muchlat. That strength is definitive strength. It's absolute strength. V'zeha oz einenu oz ki'im b'dvarim ma. But this type of oz is only strong in a certain sense. V'gam b'hem hu sibas hara k'moshe zachar. And not only that, but in this wealth is the cause of harm, as he mentioned. Mine says kima. I think it's supposed to be bima shakadam in what came before. You have bima? Okay. Oh, good. I get to send a correction. I've never used that feature before. Shalach tikun. Okay, fine. Well, actually, I'll do it later. Sheharash lo shama ga'ara. When it said earlier, I don't know which pasuk he's referring to. Does yours say which pasuk? Okay, there's a pasuk that says that the poor person will not listen to rebuke. Ulazeh lo yihye hahon oz ki im lamachshavas bal hahon lo lefi ha'inyan ba'atzmo. Therefore, the wealth is only a strength in the mind, or according to the thoughts of the possessor, not according to reality. Okay, so the just to explicitly state the methodology point here, There are certain psukim in Mishlei, and I have not seen tons of them, but I've seen like a handful where it will state something as though it is true, but it's stating it from the perspective of the fool. So in his thoughts, then this is the case. Now you might. Here's the thing, and this I'm actually not sure about. There are those who interpret maskito as his thoughts. So it could be that the pasuk is explicitly saying the wealth of the treasure of a wealthy person is his fortress of strength, and the his is pointing to the subjectiveness, and it is like a tall wall in his thoughts, the mosquito. So you could say it's explicitly saying that, and maybe you wouldn't have the right to say this elsewhere. I've seen psukim elsewhere that seem like they're just saying straight up a reality, but really it's according to the imagination of the fool. Just to read another mafarish who you don't have, who says the same thing, just to show you it's not the Ralbag. So the Ibn Kaspi's first interpretation says, after mentioning what is truly a strong tower, Yizkor ata mashu migdal oz lahamon haschalim. Now it's mentioning what is a tower of strength according to the foolish masses. V'im hu mishenes kane ratzutz ki takliso ibud v'hashever kasher yivar acharav. So even though it seems like you could rely on it, then its end is to be ruin and destruction. So again, he's taking a slightly different approach, but he's taking the same basic thing, that it's referring to falsehood, not truth. But I do want to go back to the Ralbag though, and like flesh out his idea, because he's also saying that. So what is he saying the mashal is here? I mean, we got the movies making, which is that in the guy's mind it's a migdal oz. But what's the idea according to him? He brings out more stuff here.
Putting aside the fact that we don't know where it is, would it theoretically make sense to look at what he says about the verse Lisham Dar?
Oh yeah, we could look it up. Yeah, I can find it.
Also, it's a very weird way to write a pasuk. Like say it as a fact.
Yeah.
You're saying it's wrong.
Right. That's why I think that if you say that he's getting it from the fact that it says uzo and b'maskito, and maskito, if it means machashavto, which sounds like the way the Ralbag is saying it, then that would make then it'd be more evident in the pasuk that it's not real. Rush losh amagara.
Yeah, because if you're saying something that's how people think, I would imagine you'd have to also highlight the fact that in some way that this is either what people think or this is not true.
But it might be that you're thinking that because you have a certain idea of what a proverb should be, and that it might be that in, let's say for example, one of the words he has for proverb is a riddle, and so like and same thing with midrashim, right? Is that a gadata is said in a way that is either hyperbolic or misleading or like extremist, and like if your only standard for proverbs is like American proverbs, which are like spoon feeding ideas, then it's weird to have a proverb that is not evident how it should be read, but like this could be a genre of Shlomo Solomonic proverbs. I just made that up. I don't know if that's what people say.
If it's something where it's like a very reasonable thing to think, because this is how people think about something, and it's seemingly endorsing that. If there aren't like oddities in it, where it to indicate that there's further to the idea. That seems weird to me.
Well, but you see that when we first read it, then Zev's initial reaction was like, why is it talking about wealth in this way? Like I think there's enough talk about in Klal Yisrael, I think there's enough talk about the fact that like wealth is not something you could rely on and trust in, that like even the average person will realize like there's something going on here that is not that is not that's going on beneath the surface.
Maybe also because it comes after.
Yeah, that's the other thing also, right?
Yeah.
Is in context. Yeah.
Well, I think maybe even like that, so you can indicate, but like if it's something where it's like, where it's not as clear, or that there's where something like.
Let me give you an example in English proverb, which is from Mishlei. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Right? So like if you took that at face value, then it's telling you that you should spare the kid and that you should spoil the child. Right? It's only because we know that spoiling children is a bad thing and not a good thing that we don't take that proverb literally.
Bro, let's just telling you like a cause and effect thing.
Right, but it's lashon tzivui, right? You know.
Yeah.
And the only reason you're assuming it's not is because you know that it's not telling you that we should spoil the child.
Yeah, there's also a reasonable way to understand it, which is that it's explaining a causative chain.
Right. And I think that there's a reasonable way to explain this, even if you didn't translate mosquito as what do you call it? As in his thoughts. If you translate it as in his dwelling, then the wealth of the treasure of a wealthy person is his fortress of strength. I think points that right.
I'm saying as long as there's like some sort of textual indication that there's like further to go in, or like there's some reason. I'm saying if after understanding the idea, it's like you look at the pasuk and say, the pasuk is actually just saying something false, because we know that this and so we're saying it must be that this is just talking about how people think, that it's not indicated from the pasuk in any way, or from like that seems like
right. Saying like just to have the preconceived notion that it's false, and then look at the pasuk, and you come to the conclusion that it's talking about your thoughts just from that bias.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way you can say that this is like false and just talking about the way that people think about it. If the only indication is just that you are thinking about the idea and you're like, this can't be true, then you don't exactly know how to formulate the issue, but it's like.
Why can't it be teaching you an idea that you don't know yet?
Right. Yeah. So again, I think this is a matter of shikol hadas here. Is that I think that if you're walking into this whole thing with a premise that the idea in the pasuk has to be derived solely from the text, then you'd be right. But I think that there's a certain assumption about who Shlomo was talking to, that he's talking to people. We are a society. We Torah people are a society that does not. That does not view wealth as an absolute protection. And I think it's reasonable to assume that the average reader of Mishlei throughout all time, is going to realize like something's going on here, and then that's part of the thing. But yeah, okay, let's.
It really depends on the pasuk.
Right. Okay, so the pasuk he's quoting is 13:8. If you wanted to look at that, and we'll just quickly glance at it and see if it's relevant with his commentary at least. Don't know exactly how he's going to translate it, but we'll read it anyway. Kofer nefesh ish ashro. Yeah, see, here's another example. Wealth is a ransom for a person's soul. Varash lo shama ga'ara. And a poor person, literally a poor person, I think you have to say does not listen to rebuke, because I think this is one of these cases where like it sometimes it's formulated in the past tense, but I think it clearly means second tense. It wouldn't make sense if it said a poor person didn't listen to rebuke. I mean, unless it is saying that. I mean, maybe you could learn it that way, but like I don't think that's the natural way to read it. So Ralbag says kofer nefesh ashir. Is he going off of the previous pasuk? Oh, it looks like he's connecting this to the previous one, but whatever. Let's just read it in isolation here. Kofer nefesh ha'ashir yeshlo sonim rabim mipnei chamdam ashro. So the wealthy person has many enemies due to their coveting his wealth. Hu yasim kofer nafsho, and he makes or he places a ransom on his soul. V'yitin lahem mamono v'faisim, and he'll give them his money and appease them. V'yos inyan kain, and because this is the case, hini hamis asher. Yeah, this is connecting to the previous pasuk. I think the only part that he meant, though, he was referring to that phenomenon, though, is the wealthy person has a lot of people who want his wealth. Yeah. So we can come back to this tomorrow also, but let me just get out a basic idea here for the Ralbag, just so we have something to think about today. So let me go back to the pasuk there. Yeah. So a real fortress would protect you. Okay. The wealth of a wealthy person is, like he's saying, it's not an absolute protection like the Shem Hashem is for the tzaddik. It is protection in some ways, but it's also a liability in other ways. V'gam bahem hu sibas hara, right? In other words, it itself is a magnet for harm. You know, that like, and yeah, it can sometimes solve the problems that it itself generates. Like people will be jealous of you and you'll have to find ways to like pay them off, you know, but like you are putting yourself at risk by having the wealth, and that's not a very good fortress, you know, but in his mind, he thinks it is. Like he dives into the pursuit of wealth thinking that this is going to solve all of his problems, but it actively generates other threats, you know.
Interesting. Like usually the Mishlei will say the maskana.
Yeah.
Kind of have to figure out the outcome.
Right.
Now it's the opposite.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah.
It's kind of like if you have like a very like ornate high-tech safe that's like clearly designed to be like very difficult to get into.
Yeah.
And like high end, then that's gonna attract people who want to like who they'll see that and like it's a protection in one sense, but it is going to cause people to want to try to.
Right. I mean, I think the actual best example of this that happens even today, which sounds like this happened a lot more back then also, is the Kofir case of like people who are wealthy, like nowadays, can't like travel abroad or travel into any dangerous place because they could get kidnapped and be held for ransom, or their family can get, you know, held for ransom. And like that only happens because of the wealth, you know, and it literally is a kofar nefesh. Like, you know, you're gonna have to use it to buy back like a life, you know. One more thing, and I can't remember offhand whether this is oh, hold on. How strange. Oh yeah. You saw what I posted yesterday about the Alatorah thing. I got an email from the Alatorah founder saying, I have a surprise for you. Rabbeinu Yonah is now in Mishlei.
No way.
But he said we only have half of it. It was 1 through 12 when I checked yesterday, but today they have chapter 18.
Nice.
So like, yeah. So Rabbeinu Yonah said, and I didn't check how far it goes, but they have 18. So he says, Rabbeinu Yonah says, "Hine hatzadik boteach b'Hashem yisalev, ha'ashir boteach ba'ashro." So the tzaddik trusts in Hashem, the wealthy person trusts in his wealth. Ba'oshro v'hono. Sorry, v'hono be'enav kahoma nisgava b'chadrim maskito. And his wealth in his eyes is like a tall wall in the chambers of his dwelling. Asher sham otzar kaspo v'zahavo, where is the safe, the elaborate safe, right? Otzar of his kesef and zahav. Okay, so that's one approach. Okay, so that is acknowledging that it's in his eyes like this. Okay, but then he says, "Ohi b'maskito kamo b'machashavto milashon maskios levav." So, or the word maskis does not mean chambers; it literally means in his thoughts. Mina bitachon b'Hashem Yisrael teshua min hatzara v'bitachon ba'osher sibas nefila min hashalva. Oh, interesting. So he's saying trust in Hashem is going to provide salvation from tzara. And trust in wealth is the cause of nefila min hashalva, falling from tranquility. Al kain kasuv achrav lifnei shever. Okay, then he connects it to the next pasuk. But he also quotes v'chein kasiv boteach ba'ashro yipol. One who trusts in his wealth will fall. So I do want to come back to this tomorrow and like refine it a little bit. But it seems like all three of those mefarshim are taking the same approach. That it's contrasting true security, which is in the Shem Hashem, with either just pointing out it's illusory security for losers, or it's saying that it's actively going to bring about other harms, or maybe that's why it's illusory, you know? Yeah. All right, so let's stop here for today and then come back to it tomorrow. Think about it for now.
Thank you.
Yep.